Nico is, I don't know where she came from.
Just look into her false-colored eyes.
She was famous for being Nico.
She'll build you up to just put you down. What a clown.
A deity, a goddess. Pure, purity, pure beauty.
The things she does to please. She's just a little tease. See the way she walks. Hear the way she talks.
Her songs are among the best ever written, and they're good enough for millions of people who haven't heard them yet.
Your number 37, have a look. She's gone to smile to make you frown. What a clown.
An icon? Well, you could say a freak, too. From being so beautiful, she became a kind of freak act.
Will there be another time? Will there be another time? Another year? Another wish to say? Will there be another time? Will there be another time? Another year? Another wish to say?
I thought she was quite charming the day I met her. She was walking down the steps of Rafters. I was walking out and she was travelling around just on her own with a guy called Robert, and they had no money much and no food, and she was just there. And she seemed quite a free spirit, looked a bit desperate, so immediately attracted me. I liked her immediately, from the first second. And I didn't even know who she was. The truth is, when the agent, Mike Inks it was, introduced us, said, I've got a special one for you can put on. It's Nico. I wasn't really thinking it. Nico. I said, who's he? Seriously, who is he? She was like some sort of dark, nanny-ish figure of warmth and security, but very erotic and connected to, obviously, death. The death must have been, if it surprised her, it must have come upon her like an old friend. Because she was always toying with it, you know. She nearly lost her life several times. I was only 2 minutes from dying, you know, she was still like that, you know. She was not interested in the multivarious forms of attractions of life. She was interested in that which led to decay and to death. Behind everything is the desire for one's own extinction. Very close to Nico was the desire for her own extinction. Life was a bore to her to some extent, and rather wearisome. And for that I liked her very much, because that is a trait of many a noble character. The sick of things.
A given voice, a given choice, a losing mid-sentence word. A given voice, a given choice, a losing mid-sentence word. I give them all they need, everything they know it but they must cross the line.
When I worked with her, you know, her looks were gone. She wasn't this Chelsea girl creature, this pop-star blonde, Marlene Dietrich, moon goddess vamp. She was a middle-aged junkie.
Suddenly there was a knock on my door, on my flat, and there was this guy standing there who was an old friend of mine. And suddenly I heard this voice. Hello, hello, where are you? And there's this woman walked up the steps, big woman, you know, strange eyes. And he introduced me and said, this is Nico, friend of mine. And the name rang a bell, but I didn't really, you know. And she said, can I use your toilet? So, okay, you know, and she was in there for half an hour, you know, so I said, what's going on, you know? And he said, oh, this is Nico, you know, Nico. Nico, I know the name, you know. said, you know, from the Velvet Underground, you know. Ah, right. And then it all made sense, and then I knew why she was in the toilet for half an hour. So that's how we met. That was the end, you know, for me. Academic life and into something else, into a time tunnel from which I never emerged. A completely crazy but little world. Just a little world in a van of absolute craziness. It was a universe, you know, this little world. We were all sort of planets revolving around her moon. You know. You'd have a kind of a swing jazz bebop drummer, or you know, kind of guitar hero playing like Pete Townsend, leaping around, you know, and smacked out bass player, and a college boy playing the piano. You know. She was almost proud of the fact that her teeth were rotten and her hair was grey and, you know, her skin was bad and she had needle tracks all over. I mean, she liked that. That was her aesthetic.
We try you with fanatics to make you sigh. What a game, oh, be afraid, consumed into a single
There would be a relaxed atmosphere in the van until we were 10 miles from the border, and then all shit would break loose. You know, there'd be people stashing things in ridiculous places, and Nico would be putting heroin up her ass, you know, and I mean, it was just people panicking, you know. Just before we went into customs, she gave me like a whole tour's worth of syringes, you know, like a great barrel of these syringes. Just gave it me. I mean, I'm the customs guys are there, and I've got this handful of fucking syringes. And that's deliberate, you know. She was the queen of the bad girls, you know, terrifying. She was terrifying. With her manager, you know, the fights, I mean, they would have knife fights, you know. The one time we got off a ferry, and there's this guy, they just hired him to do the sound. He was very kind of nervous and anxious, and, you know, he didn't like the smells in the van, you know, people cooking heroin, and he was really kind of... Anyway, we just got off the ferry in Calais, and Nico's manager was sitting in the front. There was the guy, the sound guy, who was driving, and Nico was just sitting behind. And we just got past the customs, and Nico suddenly pulls this knife out. I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you. She grabbed Alan by the jacket, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you. And the guy's going crazy, you know, the van's flying off the road, you know. And, I mean, he'd never seen anything like this in his life before, you know. Suddenly there's this crazy woman, you know, throwing knives around. And that's just an ordinary morning.
So, why did you decide to write a book about your time with Nico?
Well, money, and I wanted to celebrate an aspect of my life and other people's lives that don't normally get much attention in rock literature. Failures.
Das war 1940, Christa war 1,5 Jahre alt. Es war ja bereits Krieg. Und der Vater, der war eingezogen, als sie von Köln mit ihrer Mutter nach Berlin kam. Mein Vater, der schrieb dann, wir sehen doch den blutroten Himmel immer über Berlin, Feuer, Feuer überall. Lasst die Kinder nicht in Berlin, lasst sie nach Lübbenau kommen. Evakuiert sie. Und dann ist meine Schwester mit ihrer Tochter nach Lübbenau zu den Eltern. Und mein Sohn sehr bald, ein halbes Jahr danach, ist er auch nach Lübbenau gegangen.
Sie herzte sanft ihr Spielzeug, bevor sie es zerbrach, und hatte eine Sehnsucht und wusste nicht, weil sie einsam war und so blond ihr Haar und ihr Mund so rot wie Wein.
Sie war damals ein so feines Mädchen, ja. Sie hatte so eine Grazie und das gefiel mir alles so an ihr. Und dann war sie schüchtern, sie war nicht laut. Als sie so im 12. Lebensjahr war, war sie schon eine kleine Dame. Sie ging daher wie eine kleine Prinzessin, gut angezogen und immer Schmuck ausgesehen, sehr gepflegt. Sie trug einen Pagenkopf und dann hatte sie einen langen Hals und das stand ihr alles so sehr, sehr gut. Also ich fand das Mädchen einfach toll und habe immer gedacht, aus der wird mal was. Ja? Und das wusste sie, dass sie gut aussieht, das wusste sie sehr wohl. Denn das war ja mit diesem Fundament hat sie ja ihre Karriere aufgebaut. Ne?
Bon anniversaire, chérie. Splendide, un feu d'artifice. Tu veux?
Un feu d'artifice. J'en ai déjà eu un pour un anniversaire. Un beau. J'étais petite. C'était beau toutes ces fusées dans le ciel, les bombes, colonnes qui brûlaient. Joyeux anniversaire. Parents, maison. J'ai tout perdu ce jour-là.
Ihren Vater hat sie ja gar nicht kennengelernt, das Kind. Nicht? Da war sie doch viel zu klein. Das kann man dann schon sagen, wenn man ein halbes Jahr alt ist oder 1,5 Jahre.
Unser ganzes Leben lang.
Meine Schwester hat vom Oberkommando der Wehrmacht hat sie den Bescheid bekommen, dass er gefallen ist. Aber er war nicht tot. Er hatte einen Kopfschuss und hat gelebt. Also nehmen wir an, dass die ihn umgebracht haben. Bei Hitler war das doch damals so. Nicht? Wer nicht mehr Soldat sein konnte, nicht wahr? Der bedeutete doch nichts, der Mann.
Über alles in der Welt.
Das war ein Abenteurer. Ein Typ, der selber keine Wurzeln hatte. Manchmal sehe ich ihn direkt, wenn ich Christa sehe. Dann denke ich, ist er ganz der Vater.
And what costume shall the poor girl wear to all tomorrow's parties? A hand-me-down dress from who knows where.
Sie ging dann im Kurfürstendamm, sie ging spazieren, schaute sich Schaufenster an. Nicht? Eine Freundin hatte sie auch nicht, sie machte das alles im Alleingang. Und da hat sich auch der Tobias entdeckt. Tobias war der Fotograf von Östergaard. Das war der Anbeginn. Und da war die Vogue damals aus Paris. Die hat sie vom Steg weg engagiert. Ja? Und da hat Östergaard sie dann verloren. Da ging sie nach Paris. Und da war sie 16 Jahre alt. Sie war ja wirklich, sie konnte sich ja bewegen und sie konnte schauspielern. Sie wollte um Gottes Willen nichts anderes machen. Sie hatte Hände wie Milch und Glas. Ja, also gearbeitet hat sie nie. Sie hatte wunderschöne Hände. Ja. Sie hat nie gearbeitet.
heavy wind, the rain and the sunset, the light on your door, to show that you're home. When you think the night has in your mind, that inside you twisted and unkind. Let me stand to show that you are blind. Please put down your hands, 'cause I see you.
Ich höre gerne die Platte. Ich fühle diese Musik, verstehen Sie? Das ist so ihre Art, wie sie war. Also träumend, ja, träumend und überschwänglich, irgendetwas sehen, was nicht da ist.
Cease to know or to tell or to see or to be your own. Have someone else's will as your own. Have someone else's will as your own. You are beautiful and you are alone. You are beautiful and you are alone.
La personne qui était à ma gauche se tourne vers moi et me dit « Your name is Nico ?» Je dis « Yes, my name is Nico. »« Ah, you live in Paris before ?» Je dis « Oui, j'ai été... » Elle me dit « Est-ce que vous avez connu un photographe qui s'appelle Tobias ?» Je dis « Non, je ne sais pas. » Elle me dit « Je m'appelle Nico à cause de vous. » Parce que quand j'ai commencé à faire des photos avec ce monsieur Tobias, je m'appelais Christa, pas Evgen. Et alors, Tobias m'a dit, c'est pas un joli nom, ça, pour un mannequin, il faut que tu changes de nom. Alors, je vais te donner le nom de quelqu'un de qui j'étais amoureux à Paris, que je n'ai jamais connu, qui s'appelle Nico. Et ça, c'est un joli nom pour toi. Et c'est comme ça qu'il s'est appelé Nico.
Nico! Wie geht's dir, mein Süßes?
Mais elle n'aimait pas ce nom, Christa. Elle n'aimait pas. Je trouvais ça un joli nom, Christa, je dis. C'est un très joli nom. Non, non, non. Très, très... Ah! C'est so allemand. So allemand.
Terry me va.
Usted sí que sabe. Me encanta.
Mais détestait ça, je crois. Mannequin. Voilà. Comme elle avait une voix très grave, je lui ai demandé un jour, est-ce que tu as chanté déjà? Elle me dit non. Mais de temps en temps, elle chantait comme ça, quand on est ensemble. Elle chantonnait, elle fredonnait. Je lui ai dit, tu as un joli timbre. Alors je l'ai amenée chez un professeur à New York. On habitait New York à ce moment-là, et qui a commencé à la faire travailler. La voix, etc. Et ça marchait très très bien.
Übrigens, Paparazzo wollte von dir eine Serie für die Vogue machen.
Danke, ich arbeite doch nicht mehr als Fotomodell. Schon seit einem Jahr nicht. Das ist vorbei.
There's so many copies of Nico nowadays. In those days, 1960s, there were not a lot of Nicos. She was very tall, she was lovely. And she couldn't speak English, she couldn't speak German, she couldn't speak French, she spoke no language, not articulately. She spoke nothing at all. She just had to look, and people looked at her. She was imposing. I've always been fond of Nico. Nico was, and she picked me up. I didn't even pick her up. She picked me up. We were eating in the brasserie where there's some sort of a drugstore, Saint-Germain-des-Prés, in front of de Magot. She was next door. I was in another table. I was rather elegant, and I was younger. Anyway, and we spoke. And this is where our friendship happened. We never spoke. We used to speak, but we didn't speak. Everything was instinctive. She didn't hate people. She was incapable of hating people, but she didn't like people. She was just alone. And she was scared to death of herself, of everybody.
Et elle m'appelle un jour de New York, elle me dit voilà, j'ai une aventure avec quelqu'un. J'attends l'enfant de lui, je vais le garder. Mais elle me dit mais je vais le faire reconnaître par Alain Delon, etc., par le père. Je lui dis est-ce que tu es sûr de ça, est-ce que tu es sûr qu'il va le reconnaître, etc. Et elle me dit oui, je suis sûr, je vais me marier avec lui, etc., etc. Bon, j'ai dit bonne chance.
Nico Papadakis didn't love Nico Pefkin. They had just the name. There was no love attached, there was no affection. She had no sex with anybody, except for Delon. And I wonder if Delon enjoyed it. I doubt it very much.
Why do you think he didn't enjoy it?
Because he was too vulgar for her. She had some sort of elegance, detached elegance. And Delon was a sort of a butcher, a vulgar. He still is. I don't know. I can't bear Delon. He's a rotten actor, a rotten man. He could, his family sold what you brought here. Sausages and things like that. You always, when you're born in this thing, you'll always be a sausage seller. You can't be an actor. Nico was, I don't know where she came from. She was unrooted. You understand? Déracinée. And she was alone, except for her mother. This is the only thing she had. Poor Nico. She was just some sort of an object, and she didn't want to be an object, but she knew she was an object, and she didn't know how to control the whole thing. The moment you liked her, she disappeared. She didn't like people to like her. And this is why she played the game of being a lesbian. She wasn't more lesbian than you are. But she hated people to touch her. She couldn't bear. No one loved Nico, and Nico loved no one.
Je suis le petit chevalier, avec la terre dessous mes pieds. J'irai te visiter, j'irai te visiter.
Vous voyez que je vis chichement, hein? Vous savez? Les gens s'imaginent que Delon m'a acheté un château et que je vis dans un château avec du personnel. J'en ai pas besoin, vous savez. Dans un journal, France Dimanche ou je sais pas quoi, il y avait un article. Et j'ai cherché. J'ai dit c'est un enfant à mon fils. J'ai cherché. Et on est allé la voir et voir le bébé. Et le petit, il avait quoi, 2 ans, à peu près. Mon mari s'est assis, il est allé se blottir dans ses bras. Alors ça nous a touchés énormément. Et moi, je retrouvais mon fils. Et je croyais, croyez-moi, sur parole, c'est vrai, je croyais vraiment que mon fils l'accepterait. Vraiment. Quand il a su que j'avais le bébé, ça faisait déjà 2 ans qu'on l'avait. Et quand il l'a appris, il m'a fait téléphoner par son impresario qu'il avait à ce moment-là, que j'avais le choix entre le bébé et mon fils. Et Mon mari a répondu, dis-lui que lui, il peut manger, mais Harry, il peut pas s'élever tout seul. Et c'est comme ça qu'on l'a gardé. Pensez donc qu'il était tout petit. Elle l'emmenait avec elle avant qu'on le prenne. Elle allait en Belgique, elle allait partout. Avec le gosse comme ça, il mangeait que des pommes chips. Dans les gares, dans les hôtels, dans les aéroports, je sais pas où. Il vivait vraiment... C'était la bohème. Un jour, elle est venue au bout de 3 ans. Elle lui a rapporté des États-Unis, devinez quoi? Une orange. Avec mon mari, on s'est regardé, on l'a pris comme ça. On pouvait rien dire. Qu'est-ce que vous voulez dire? On a pris l'orange. On a dit, il est vraiment pas comme tout le monde. Ça faisait 3 ans qu'elle n'avait pas vu son fils. J'ai envoyé des colis. Il me revenait. Parti sans laisser d'adresse. Elle vivait chez l'un, chez l'autre. Sa mère m'a écrit, avant de mourir, elle m'a écrit une grande lettre où elle me confiait Harry. Elle me demandait de tout son cœur de garder le petit. Parce qu'elle savait que sa fille était une grande fille, mais pas pour élever un enfant. Elle était comme elle était, mais je l'ai beaucoup aimée. Moi, j'ai toujours dit que j'avais jamais vu une femme aussi belle et intelligente. Elle avait tout pour elle. Vous voyez? Comme c'est triste. C'est plus triste que quelqu'un qui est bête. Mais c'est la vie. Il faut vivre avec son chagrin, ma chérie. Mais c'est pas facile. Il arrive des moments... Je vous le souhaite pas. Mais il y a des moments de désespoir que tout le monde ne connaît pas. Moi, je suppose que c'est ce que j'ai eu. Des moments de désespoir. Parce que mon mari est décédé. Ça faisait 17 ans que j'avais pas vu mon fils. Parce qu'il y avait Harry.
You'd search babe at any cost. Well, I'd been living in New York since 1959, modeling for Fords, until I took up acting lessons with Lee Strasberg, and Marilyn Monroe was in my class. Very exciting. And he said I should join him in New York, and it was Bob Dylan that introduced me. And he also told Andy that he should make movies with me. I guess he wanted to look at me through a magnifying glass. Everybody will help you discover what you set out to find.
Well, Nico, I first heard of Nico. It was one day, an afternoon at the factory. Andy was at his work table doing silk screening, and I was either helping him or doing something else. And Gerard came up the elevator, Gerard Malanga, into the factory and said, "Hey everybody, I want you to hear this record I have. It's by this new friend I have in Europe. Her name is Nico." And he put this little 45 record on our stereo system and played it.
I'm not saying that I love you. I'm not saying that I care if you love me. I'm not saying that I care. I'm not saying I'll be there when you want me. I can't give my heart to you or tell you that I'd sing your name.
And everyone was fascinated with her. She was like a marble sculpture. She was a goddess.
Always be around when you need me.
Come from out of Valhalla or something.
Not be alone each time you
A deity, a goddess. Pure, purity, pure beauty.
but still I won't deny your mystery. Baby, if you let me have my way,
all of the girls in the superstar, the feminine superstars, were still wearing dresses and mini skirts. Nico wore pantsuits, either black or white. She was unlike what girls were like then.
The things you want me to, I'm not saying I be true, but I try.
It was interesting that Nico was a singer, and exactly the same week she came in, I had just discovered this group somebody brought me to see by accident again, called the Velvet Underground. They were a perfect group. They already had this name, Underground, word Underground in their name. They'd only been together about 4 days, and it was the first job they ever had.
They had been thrown out of a place in the village on 3rd Street, the Café Bizarre, because people couldn't dance to their music.
But there was nobody who could sing with the group. The singing was done by Lou Reed, and he just seemed not a very good singer, and not a good personality. There's something too seedy about him. And he was not a natural performer. He was sort of shy type, on stage, I would think.
They had no job, so that's when Andy came and saved the situation, and that's when I joined them.
We're sponsoring a new band. It's called the Velvet Underground, and we're trying to. Well, since I don't really believe in painting anymore, I thought it would be a nice way of combining, and we have this chance to combine music and art and films all together, and we're sort of working on that, and well, the whole thing is being auditioned tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and if it works out, it might be very glamorous.
Perilous to be there. A lot of people couldn't even come there, wouldn't come there because of what they heard about it, or if they did come, it left immediately. The aura was so intense, high-powered people. Andy was a magician, a wizard.
First, nobody is able to attract that type of intense, sad, desperate people around. Make a circle of that begins to explode, and I mean that's where, of course, Nico comes in. There was, I think, a lot of sadness and desperation in Nico, as in many of the people around. And
the specialty at the factory was a synthetic aura, where anyone who came into it who did have skills or talent was accepted by Andy and the rest of the group there as another player in the play, and was allowed to interact.
I only wanted to be with the underground people. I wasn't interested in fashion anymore.
The idea of having her in the band in the first place was really offensive to a lot of people. Especially for Lou and I, who'd been through several variations of what the Velvets eventually became. And having Mo as a drummer had sort of put a cap on all our frustrations with having girl members of the band. And it was a very good publicity move on the part of Andy. And no one could understand the value, really, of having a beautiful blonde lady standing there doing not much more than playing tambourine for the show.
Please put down your head, 'cause I see you.
through your eyes and to your darkness, so you won't be afraid.
Most people at the factory were very loquacious and verbose, would easily talk or tell you something. Nico rarely spoke, and only when someone spoke to her.
She had no inner life. What inner life she did have was always strictly kept in her. I mean, there was really nothing to talk to Nico about because she had no interest in life. She had no interest in anything, basically.
She was so impressive to look at that boys were scared of her, mainly men, boys, but of course she liked cute boys too. So she probably, while they were being afraid of her not liking them, she was probably getting a crush on them. And then, I mean, we'd seen this happen so many times. It was, oh no, I can't even talk to her. And then a few weeks later, they'd be, you know, lovers.
Lou was just completely stunned with her and could never quite figure it out, what was going on. And
let me stand to show that you are blind. Please put down your hands, 'cause I see you. Well, that's because I said to Lou one day, I'll be your mirror. I fell in love with him. He was so beautiful and very tough. Tough like a statue.
it was very much a love-hate relationship. And Lou's affection for Nico quickly faded, I think, for some outrageous personal reasons.
She's gone to break your heart in two. It's true.
And some for musical reasons. I don't think anybody was impressed with the musical ability. I mean, singing in tune was the first kind of objection that was brought up.
She was actually reduced to tears in the studio because we wanted her to sing in a soft voice rather than in a hard Germanic voice. And so we succeeded finally.
But then we didn't play in tune, and we didn't care about not playing in tune. So it was all grist for the mill in a way. And we thought that all this aggravation was really good for art.
Shiny, shiny, shiny boots of leather. Whiplash, girl child in the dark. Comes in bells, your servant, don't forsake him. Strike, dear mistress, and cure his heart.
They were not merely exceptional, they were unworkable as a performing or recording band. They were outcasts. Don't forget they were part of an Andy Warhol package, and he was very famous then. The attraction was here comes Andy Warhol's traveling circus.
I am tired, I am weary. I could sleep for 1,000 years, 1,000 dreams that would awake me. Different colors made of tears.
But Nico went off doing her solo thing, and leaving her accompany us individually. And then, she just sort of spun off out of the band. Just as she sort of spun into it.
I think Sterling Morrison accompanied her the night that I saw her play. Anyway, it was great. I thought she was great. There were also these 20-foot posters all over New York of her. And I'd seen her, I'd seen these posters everywhere I went, for like a couple of weeks before going there. I saw her. So a couple days after the show, I got a call from Tim Buckley saying that there was a job, accompanying her, and I want to go see her about it. So yeah, I did. I got the job.
I had a lover. I don't think I risk another these days. These days. And if I seem to be afraid to live the life that I have made in song, it's just that I've been losing
Andy wanted Nico to sing inside of a plexiglass box. I think as a way of making it something, you know, kind of, you know, modern pop, you know, surreal. I think Nico wouldn't do it, you know. She was quite serious about just making music. She looked for songs. Oh, how sadly sound the songs the queen must sing of dying. The prisoner upon her throne, such superficial sighing. If she could see her mirror now, she would be free of those who bow and scrape the ground before her feet. But all my frozen words agree and say it's time to call back all the birds I sent to fly behind her castle walls. And I'm weary of the nights I've seen inside these empty halls.
She started at some point having a real resentment of her good looks. She hated the fact that people thought she was beautiful. She thought this was some sort of disgrace to be beautiful. It was just a stupid German perversity, I guess. But in those days, modeling was not artistic. It was, you know, artistic was to be like Janis Joplin, screaming your lungs out before you die of drug addiction.
The only one I have anything in common with is Jim Morrison.
This is the end, beautiful friend. This is the end, my only friend, the end.
Well, he was a very sexy person. You need only ask Nico. Well, unfortunately, you can't ask about that. Who was very smitten with him.
It hurts to set you free, but you never follow me. The end of laughter, ends of lies. The end of nights we try to die.
When Nico and Jim Morrison met, and she was simply drinking some vodka, he was swallowing handfuls of LSD and sleeping pills and ups and downs, and unbelievable. You never heard the story? It was at the castle in Los Angeles, and I had brought him there to meet her because I thought they'd be a cute couple. And they met and they didn't say a word. He stood in one doorway and she stood in another, and they both stared at someplace on the floor for hours. And down, he was pulling her hair, and they were sort of going like this. It was just moonlight. It was sort of a stagey kind of ritualistic fight. When she went back in the house and came running into my room and said, "Oh, Danny, he is trying to kill me." And I said, "Oh, would you just go to sleep? You know, he's not going to kill anyone." And he had taken off all his clothes, and he was walking naked along the parapet, balancing himself, and she was standing down. So that was how they met. That was their first day of romance.
This is the end, my only friend, the end. No safety, no surprise, the end. I never look into your eyes again.
She was obsessed with Jim Morrison, carrying around this photograph of Jim Morrison with a vigil light, little candle she'd light in front of it. At night before she went to bed, she practically did prayers to Jim Morrison. He was still alive then.
He was my soul brother. He told me to write songs. I never thought that I could.
At that point, if you look at what she was writing at that time, there was nobody else doing anything anywhere remotely similar.
Midnight winds are landing at the end of time. Midnight winds are landing at the end of time. A true story wants to be mine. A true story wants to be mine. The story is telling it tonight. The story is telling it tonight. Mandolins are ringing to the fire singing. Mandolins are ringing to the fire singing. Midnight winds are landing at the end of time. Midnight winds are landing at the end of time.
And she totally changed her image from being a blonde and wearing white into henna in her hair, wearing totally black, and lived the dream. Everything that she did was part of this statement that now she was a different person.
Everybody was shocked. Everybody said to Nico, "That's really awful. You look awful. It's ugly." That got her happy. She was so happy to be called ugly.
It was a solitary dream where occasional friendships were struck and abandoned. And the transitory nature of all of this was really kind of a flotsam, the furniture of her life, with these somewhat derelict emotions. And it was so highly personal that it was very powerful.
Marble Index was shot in 2 days, and it's the best record yet. For me, it's almost like shooting a movie.
This is a contribution to European classical music, and out of all of the turmoil of the Velvet Underground, I've gotten something out of it, which may not be what the band did, but certainly what I did with Nico.
Across from behind my window screen, Neiman is dancing down the sea.
That one she wrote in Positano.
In that douche parody, Neiman is dancing down the sea.
It has a medieval touch, which I adore.
He is calling and throwing his arms up in the air. And no one is there.
She never met the love we all deserve. It happens. I was working in Rome, and this friend, Philippe Garel, was directing a film. And there comes Nico and Viva, straight from the factory to Rome, saying, "Hey, I hear that you're making a film, here we are." And Viva fell in love with Michel Auder, who was a young French film director, and Nico fell in love with Garel. She didn't have a role in that film, but that's where their love affair began.
Well, if the artistic relation wasn't there, we wouldn't have a relation, a personal relation, because it all derives from the poetic view of the galaxy.
I enjoyed Nico alone with her harmonium, singing My Funny Valentine or Desert Shore, or, she didn't really need Garel.
It's a sort of galactic thing. It's a poetic thing. And if that didn't exist between us, there wouldn't be anything.
Her music was quite appropriate to his images.
Well, it started out with Philippe having had electric shock treatment, and that's how he called the film The Inner Scar, which is, a madness. It's a scar in the brain. It's a scar in the brain, that's what it is. Because I was with him while he was in this hospital, in this clinic near Rome. I was in the same room. And they sent me out a few times before giving him electroshocks. I didn't know it until I discovered it. It's horrible.
She was quite, not egomaniac, but in her world. And
I don't have any limits, I'm not the person that needs to be outside to actually be outside. I can feel that same way in a little cell. I like to be locked in fact.
I don't know who introduced whom to what. Show me one person who doesn't have problems or with alcohol or with drugs and is happy and creative. And it's very rare.
Da hat er sich gerade irgendwie Heroin gekauft, bei uns irgendwie Pigalle. Na, wir waren immer auf der Suche, ey.
Schlag für mich ein, trag mich fort, ganz allein in die Welt meine endlosen Träume.
Also ich fand ja diese Heroinabhängigkeit eigentlich somit die interessanteste Lebensweise. Weil, klingt vielleicht ein bisschen pervers, aber du hast auf jeden Fall immer ein Ziel. Ja? Du kommst ja in die abenteuerlichsten Gegenden und mit ganz komischen Menschen zusammen, wie so ein bisschen wie ein Film, ja? So ein Gangsterfilm oder so. Und ich war dann ja auch abhängig immerweise. Aber ich meine, ich war ehrlich gesagt mehr abhängig von Nico als von der Droge. Ja? Also ich habe die halt genommen, weil Nico die genommen hat. Und sie hat immer, hier, nimm, das ist gut und so. Und dann, wenn du mit jemandem zusammen bist, willst du natürlich auch auf dieses Level kommen und willst verstehen, was dahinter ist. Und
lass mich fliegen, lass mich sterben, lass mich lieben, lass mich
tolle Lippen, finde ich. Am liebsten mochte sie ja ihre Augen. Hat ja auch tolle Augen, mein Gott. Ich habe sie ja echt vergöttert. Ich war damals so 22 irgendwie und ich war halt der Fan. Ich war natürlich total verliebt über beide Ohren. Und sie war aber lebte ja noch mit Philippe Garel zusammen. Ah, und das ist jetzt Rue de Richelieu in Paris. Ja, da haben die gewohnt. Mein Gott, ey. Unglaublich. Ey. So eine Wohnung habe ich nie in meinem Leben wieder gesehen. Alles schwarz und dunkel und denn so abend, da war dann keine Heizung, Winter war arschkalt und er dann da mit Decke und so in seinem Zimmer und keine Heizung, wie gesagt, kein Licht, nichts funktioniert. Da hat er so Kerzen und überall Zigarettenstummeln. So, also seine Kuhl hat er immer geraucht, ja, aber alles voll, wurde auch nie irgendwie weggeräumt oder so. Und also es war immer wirklich traurig, ja. Und dann hat er auch so öfters so einfach stundenlang so da gesessen und nur so nachgedacht. Also er ist ja mehr so ein Intellektueller, ne? Grübler. Dann gehst du mal aus dem Haus 4 Stunden, kommst wieder, dann sitzt der immer noch so da und irgendwie. Das ist schon ein merkwürdiger Mensch, ne? Ich glaube, er hielt mich so für einen ziemlichen Idiot, habe ich so das Gefühl. Wir haben uns einmal auch übrigens geprügelt. In Ibiza war auch echt eine witzige Situation, wo wir dann beide so, er so war ein bisschen kleiner als ich, da stand dann so richtig so da, ja, stinkesauer und war tierisch eifersüchtig. Naja, und das ist aber dann nicht da weiter. Ich habe dann gesagt, komm, ey, jetzt, was sollen wir uns hier prügeln? Das ist ja affig. Er hat ja dann eigentlich sowieso mehr so ein Bruder-Schwester-Verhältnis zu Nico. Aber ich habe ja dann da auch gewohnt, als Lover sozusagen in seiner Wohnung. War schon ein bisschen komische Situation. Ne? Ich muss gerade auch dran denken, als ich mal in Paris war und dann da hatte sie mich irgendwie aus der Wohnung geschmissen von Philipp mit den Worten, also du deutsches Schwein. Das war auch so, damals hatte natürlich irgendwie ernster genommen, heutzutage ist es mehr komisch. Und wir haben uns auch ab und zu mal geprügelt. Ne? Einmal in New York dann auch, wo es dann zu Ende ging, da ging es ums Ganze so. Und da hat sie mir ein Bügeleisen an den Kopf geschmissen und dann habe ich sie gewürgt. Also es ging da auch wirklich, dann kam die Polizei und hat uns da auseinander. Im Chelsea Hotel. Im Chelsea Hotel, gerade wo Sid Vicious irgendwie 2 Türen weiter seine Frau umgebracht hatte. Also das war dann auch schon manchmal ganz schön grob. Ja. Das ist ja auch so schade, dass dann Heroin so wichtig wurde. Ja. Und ich glaube zwar nicht, dass Nico so sehr verändert hat, weil sie wie ich sagte, ja immer schon ein bisschen anders war, aber trotzdem, ich habe es bei mir gemerkt, Heroin macht dich schon auch fieser und kälter und du betrügst Leute und du wirst einfach, du wirst ein mieser Charakter. Ja. Das ist sehr schwer da, weil die Umstände, das immer zu kriegen, die machen dich halt das so. Ne? Also, und das ist mit ihr ja auch passiert.
Und mit Ari.
Ja, den sie auch noch anfixt. Also da kann ich auch nur den Kopf schütteln. Da weißt du nicht, was du sagen sollst. Ich meine, wie kann eine Mutter ihren Sohn anfixen? Also das verstehe ich nicht.
Regrets? I've no regrets. No. Except that I was born a woman instead of a man. That's my only regret. From the black screen of my eyelids closing in on you, the image showing me that it is all so true. A young man with a wide smile, like Bonaparte, is looking like a piece of art. In a case of crime, in a case of death.
Yeah, there was something that never was broken between us, although we've been separated by these bloody bureaucrats and the laws. My mother was an artist, is an artist, that belongs. You know? They're just poor human beings. I'm not a Boulogne, I'm a Perkin. She was there for me, to give me some bacon and eggs to eat every day, I mean each meal.
Now you see that only dreams can send you where you want to be. Now you find those faces are not holding places where you thought they'd be. And later as you go again, you will agree that it was all
Do or die. Marche ou crève. That's the way she was thinking. Do or die, create to exist. It's a soul, the organ. It was as important to her as a person. It was always with her. She would tie a belt around it, and she would carry it herself because she's been a true gypsy all her life.
Since the first of you and me asleep in a Nibelungenland where we cannot be. Titanic curses trapped me in a banishment of state.
Her father, he died in 1942 in Paris. He was shot by the Gestapo. She was 4. She had one picture of his that was lost. He looked like Gregory Peck, that he was a personal friend of the Mahatma Gandhi, and he was an archaeologist and a spy. He helped the Jews. You know, that's why he got shot. Under Hitler's personal orders and thrown to the common ditch with hundreds of thousands of others.
Will you spare the words for me to hear? Nibelungen, Nibelungen, Nibelungenland.
I'm the only person who knew Nico. I don't think anyone else knew her as well as knew her. She started to take more drugs because of this adoption thing that made her very sad. Voleuse d'enfants. That's how she called my grandmother. It's like if a soul had been stabbed. And when you take heroin, when you start, and when you don't need much, right? It's great. It was great. I wouldn't say it's great anymore. No, it's a killer. I did a 3-week coma. I was dead clinically. I mean, I was on a life support machine. And my mother, she came to see me and she wanted to record the sound of the life support machine, to put it on a record. And then she decided to stop and to get on the methadone. That was in 1986. She never took heroin again.
Sail away, my little boy. Let the wind fill your heart with light and joy.
That's the sun that killed her. Definitely. She said bye-bye. I never saw her again. I saw her again at the morgue.
Sail away, my little boy.
What I miss are, kissing her, or hugging her, or holding her hand. She would turn in and say, "Hello, Arline. Let's go to the cafe and have a beer." She had a very low voice like that. Arline. Arline. Arischen.
Friar Hermit stumbles over the cloudy borderline. Frozen mornings close to mine, close to the frozen borderline. Into numberless reflections rises a smile from your eyes into mine. Frozen mornings close to mine, close to the frozen borderline. Frozen mornings close to mine, close to the frozen borderline. railroad station tracks. Faintly flickers the mud as fly from without.